The awakening thunder, Captain Marcus Vega stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Thunderstrike, his weathered hands gripping the command rail as the viewscreen filled with something that defied every expectation he'd harbored during their 8 journey from Earth. Kepler Station stretched before them like a metallic flower blooming in the void, its spiraling arms reaching outward for nearly 50 kilometers in every direction. The structure pulsed with lights of colors that had no names in human language, and ships of impossible designs drifted around it like insects around a luminous garden. "Mother of God," whispered Commander Sarah Chen from her tactical station, her usual composure cracking as she stared at the alien megastructure. The intelligence reports didn't do it justice. Vega nodded slowly, his grey eyes tracking the movement of dozens of vessels that bore no resemblance to anything in Earth's databases. Some were elongated and serpentine, others appeared crystalline, and a few seemed to shift their very shape as they moved. After decades of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, the answer sprawled before them in all its overwhelming glory. "Dr. Vasquez," Vega called to the xenobiologist who stood transfixed near the science station. "Are you recording all of this?" Alina Vasquez startled, then fumbled with her instruments. "Yes, Captain. Every sensor we have is capturing data. Biodiversity readings alone are off the charts. I'm detecting at least 7 distinct species aboard those vessels, possibly more." The communication array suddenly erupted with activity. Lieutenant Hayes at the comm station struggled to filter through the cacophony of alien languages, digital signals, and what sounded like music. "Captain, we're receiving hundreds of transmissions. Most are in languages our computers can't even begin to decode, but there are some coming through the universal translator matrix." "Put them through the main speakers," Vega ordered, bracing himself for humanity's first words from the galactic community. A series of melodic tones filled the bridge, followed by a voice that seemed to shimmer with harmonics no human throat could produce. "Unknown vessel, you have entered the neutral zone of Kepler Station. Please identify your species of origin and state your intentions." Vega stepped forward, his voice steady despite the historic magnitude of the moment. "This is Captain Marcus Vega of the United Earthship Thunderstrike. We come from the planet Earth in the Sol system, seeking peaceful contact and trade opportunities with the galactic community." The silence that followed stretched for nearly a full minute. Then the bridge erupted with new signals, as every alien vessel in the vicinity seemed to simultaneously change course, turning toward the human ship. The space around Thunderstrike began to fill with alien craft, their exotic designs creating a barrier of steel and energy between the humans and the station. Captain Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. "We're being surrounded. I count 43 vessels of various sizes, and more are approaching from the far side of the station." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her readings, her face pale. "The biorhythm patterns I'm detecting suggest high stress levels across multiple species. Whatever our arrival means to them, they're not taking it casually." The communications array crackled again, and this time the voice that emerged carried an undercurrent of barely contained aggression. "Humans of Earth, I am High Marshal Kethva of the Corvani Empire. Your species was not invited to these waters. Your presence here disrupts the balance that has been maintained for 3 centuries. Vega exchanged glances with Chen, who had quietly begun running diagnostics on their weapon systems. The Thunderstrike had been built for exploration, but Earth's leaders weren't naive enough to send humanity's first interstellar ship into the unknown without teeth. "Hi, Marshal," Vega replied carefully. "We come in peace." Earth seeks only to establish diplomatic relations and learn from the wisdom of species who have traveled the stars far longer than we have. Peace, Kethvare's voice seemed to rumble, with dark amusement. How easily that word falls from the lips of those who have never earned their place among the stars. Tell me, human, what right do you claim to demand entry into our domain? The challenge in the alien's words was unmistakable, and Vega felt the weight of his entire species' future pressing down on his shoulders. He thought of Earth, of the billions, of people who had invested their hopes and resources into this moment, of the children who would grow up in a universe where humanity either stood among equals or remained forever isolated on their pale blue dot. We claim no right beyond that of any sapient species to seek knowledge and friendship among the stars, Vega said, his voice carrying the steel that had earned him command of humanity's most important mission. If entry to your community must be earned, then tell us what the price might be. Another long silence, then a new voice joined the conversation. This one was softer, almost ethereal, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Captain Vega, I am Ambassador Zilth of the Ethereal Collective. Please forgive the hostility of our Corvani. Friends, they are. Protective of established order. Your arrival was anticipated, but not all species agree on how newcomers should be welcomed. Anticipated, Chen muttered, leaning closer to her console. Captain, that suggests they've been monitoring Earth for some time. Vega filed that information away for later consideration. Right now, he needed to navigate the increasingly complex political waters his ship had sailed into. Ambassador Zil, we appreciate your courtesy. We're willing to follow whatever protocols are appropriate for first contact. Protocols, Kethber's voice cut through the diplomatic pleasantries like a blade. There is only one protocol that matters, human strength. The galaxy is not a place for the weak or the naive. If your species wishes to join the community of stars, you must prove you have the spine to defend your place in it. And how exactly do you propose we do that? Vega asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Combat trial, the Corvani Marshal declared. Your single vessel against 3 of our warships. If you survive, you earn the right to dock at Kepler Station and begin the process of integration. If you fail, well, the stars will remember you briefly. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her scientific mind clearly struggling with the barbaric nature of the proposal. Captain, surely there must be a diplomatic solution. We can't risk the only ship capable of maintaining contact between Earth and the galactic community. But even as she spoke, Vega could see the tactical situation developing on the main display. The alien vessels had arranged themselves in a clear formation, with the larger, more aggressive-looking ships taking point positions. Whatever species they represented, they were no strangers to warfare. High Marshal, Vega said slowly, before we consider your proposal, I need to understand something. Is this trial a matter of honor for your people, or is it a genuine test of our worthiness? Both, Kethver replied, without hesitation. The galaxy has no place for species that cannot defend themselves. Too many worlds have fallen to predators because they relied on others for protection. We will not allow another weak link to endanger the chain. Commander Chen approached Vega's position, her voice low but urgent. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship configurations. The 3 vessels they're likely to use for this trial appear to be heavily armed, but they're also older designs. Our tactical systems might give us an edge, but it would be a hell of a gamble. Vega stared at the view screen, watching the alien ships maneuver with practiced precision. Somewhere behind those exotic hulls were beings who had mastered interstellar travel while humans were still fighting with bronze weapons. Yet here they were, challenging humanity to prove itself in the most fundamental way possible. "Ambassador Zilth," he said, "what happens if we refuse this trial?" The ethereal voice carried a note of sadness. "Then you would be escorted to the edge of this system and advised never to return. Earth would remain ... isolated." The weight of that single word settled over the bridge like a shroud. Isolated, forever cut off from the wonders of galactic civilization, condemned to remain alone in the dark between the stars. Vega thought of all the questions that might never be answered, all the knowledge that would remain forever out of reach, all the friends humanity might never make. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez said quietly, "we have another option. We could return to Earth, report what we found, and come back with a proper fleet." "In how many years?" Vega asked. "How many decades, while Earth struggles to build ships that can match what we're seeing here? And what guarantee do we have that they'll offer the same terms to a fleet that they're offering to a single ship?" Chief Engineer Rodriguez's voice crackled over the cum from the engine room. "Captain, I couldn't help but overhear. The Thunderstrike was built to take punishment. Her armor is composite crystalline matrix. Her shields are powered by a fusion core that puts out more energy than some stars, and her weapons. Well, let's just say Earth's military learned a few things from the Martian wars." Vega nodded slowly. The Thunderstrike represented the pinnacle of human engineering, incorporating technologies that had been theoretical just a decade ago. She was fast, tough, and packed with weapon systems that could crack asteroids. But she was still just one ship against 3 vessels, designed by species that had been fighting in space for centuries. "High Marshal Kethva," Vega said, his decision crystallizing like steel cooling in a forge. "If we accept this trial, what are the rules of engagement?" "Simple," the Corvini leader replied, and Vega could hear the approval in his voice. "You will face 3 of our patrol cruisers in open space, beyond the station's defensive perimeter. The battle continues until one side yields or is destroyed. No outside interference, no rescue operations, victory or death, as it should be." Commander Chen was running final checks on their systems, her fingers dancing across her controls with practiced efficiency. "Weapons are charged and ready, Captain. All defensive systems are online. If we're going to do this, we're as ready as we'll ever be." Vega took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his species' future balanced on the edge of his next words. In the distance, Earth's sun was just another star among billions, and somewhere around it, billions of people were going about their daily lives with no idea that their place in the universe was about to be decided by the outcome of humanity's first space battle. "High Marshal," he said, his voice carrying across the void to alien ears, "the United Earth ship Thunderstrike accepts your challenge. We'll meet your ships at the coordinates you specify." As the alien fleet began to reorganize itself around the human vessel, Vega felt something he hadn't experienced since the siege of New Shanghai during the Martian Wars. It was the cold, focused calm that came just before the storm, when all the planning and preparation gave way to the brutal simplicity of survival. The galaxy had offered humanity a chance to prove itself, and they were about to find out if the species that had clawed its way up from the caves of Earth had what it took to claim their place among the stars. The Thunderstrike's engines hummed, with increasing power as they've prepared to face the ultimate test of human determination. When giants collide, the designated combat zone lay 10,000 kilometers from Kepler station, marked by a field of ancient asteroids that had witnessed countless such trials over the centuries. Captain Vega watched through the viewscreen as 3 Corvini warships took their positions, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian against the starfield. Each vessel was roughly the same size as the Thunderstrike, but their design spoke of a civilization that had perfected the art of war across multiple star systems. "Final systems check," Vega ordered, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. "All weapon systems nominal," Commander Chen reported. "Primary pulse cannons charged, missile tubes loaded, point defense arrays active, shields are at maximum power." Dr. Vasquez had insisted on remaining on the bridge, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from those ships. Their propulsion systems appear to be gravitational manipulators rather than traditional engines that could give them superior maneuverability." Chief Engineer Rodriguez's voice came through the CUM system, tinged with the confidence of someone who had helped design every system aboard their ship. "Captain, I've rerouted power from non-essential systems to boost our shield generators. We're running at 110% capacity, but she hold together. The Thunderstrike was built for this." High Marshal HFY's voice filled the bridge once more, carrying the formal cadence of someone conducting a ritual that had been performed countless times before. "Humans of Earth, you have chosen to face the trial of worthiness. Know that if you acquit yourselves with honor, win or lose, you will be remembered as a species with courage. If you flee or surrender without giving battle, you will be marked as cowards and barred from all civilized space." Vega stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in the parade rest position he had learned as a young officer. "Hi, Marshal. We understand the terms. The crew of the Thunderstrike is ready to prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars." "Then let the trial begin," HFY declared. The 3 Corvini ships moved with fluid grace, their formations spreading out to create a triangular attack pattern that would allow them to concentrate fire while minimizing the risk of friendly fire incidents. Their tactics were flawless, the product of centuries of military tradition and countless battles, but they had never faced humans before. "Chen, implement Vega Pattern 7, the captain ordered, referencing a tactical maneuver they had developed during their long journey from Earth. "Full power to engines, bring us round to bearing 27 Mark 4. The Thunderstrike responded like a thoroughbred racing horse, her engines flaring with brilliant blue light as she accelerated toward the nearest Corvini vessel. Rather than attempting to maintain distance and trade long-range fire, Vega was betting everything on humanity's greatest tactical advantage, their willingness to do the unexpected. "Captain, they're moving to intercept," Chen reported, her fingers flying over her controls, range closing fast. "They're targeting our forward shields." "Let them," Vega replied grimly. "Execute turn and burn on my mark. 3.2. Mark." The Thunderstrike suddenly reversed her engine thrust while simultaneously firing her maneuvering jets, causing the ship to spin end over end while maintaining her forward momentum. The maneuver was impossible for most alien vessels, whose gravitational drives couldn't match the raw versatility of human reaction-based propulsion. The Corvini ships, expecting a traditional head-to-head engagement, found themselves facing the Thunderstrike's heavily armed stern instead of her bow. Chen didn't waste the opportunity. Firing full spread, she announced, and the space around them erupted with the fury of human weapons. Pulse cannons designed to crack asteroid fields sent streams of superheated plasma into the lead Corvani ship, while missile salvos followed, trajectories calculated by computers that had learned warfare from humanity's bloodiest conflicts. The Corvani vessel staggered under the impact, its exotic shields flaring with energies that created aurora patterns in the surrounding space. For a moment, Vega thought they might have scored a decisive first strike. But the alien ship's defenses held, and it began to return fire with weapons that painted the void in colors that had no names. Shields at 80%, Rodriguez reported. From engineering, those are some kind of coherent energy weapons. They're not quite like anything in our databases. Adapt and overcome, Vega muttered, then raised his voice. Chen, target their weapon clusters. If we can't punch through their shields immediately, we'll reduce their ability to hurt us. The battle became a deadly dance as all four ships maneuvered for advantage. The Corvani vessels moved with the coordinated precision of a wolf pack, their gravitational drives allowing them to make turns that would have crushed human crews under impossible geometry. But the Thunderstrike fought like a cornered tiger, her superior acceleration and unpredictable movements keeping her enemies guessing. Dr. Vasquez, who had been monitoring the alien communications, suddenly looked up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting some kind of disagreement among the Corvani crews. One of them seems to be suggesting they modify their tactics. They're learning, Vega realized, just like we are. The second phase of the battle began when the Corvani ships attempted to box in the Thunderstrike, using their superior numbers to force her into a position where she couldn't avoid their concentrated fire. But Vega had fought similar battles during the Martian Wars, when Earth's forces had been outnumbered and outgunned by the colonial rebels. Emergency power to forward shields, he ordered. We're going straight through their formation, Captain. That's suicide, Dr. Vasquez protested. They'll tear us apart. Not if we move fast enough, Vega replied. Chen, prepare a full spread of proximity mines. Drop them right in the middle of their formation. The Thunderstrike charged forward like an ancient cavalry unit. Her engines pushed beyond their rated capacity as she accelerated toward the gap between two Corvani ships. The aliens, expecting her to veer off at the last moment, were caught off guard when the human vessel maintained course and released a cloud of explosive devices designed to detonate when enemy ships came within range. The mines weren't intended to destroy the Corvani vessels outright, but to disrupt their formation and create confusion. As the alien ships scattered to avoid the explosions, the Thunderstrike's weapons found their mark. One of the enemy vessels took a direct hit to its drive section, causing it to spin out of control as its gravitational systems failed. One down, Chen reported with grim satisfaction. 2 to go. But the remaining Corvani ships weren't finished. They regrouped with military precision, and their return fire was more accurate and coordinated than before. The Thunderstrike's shields buckled under the assault, and warning lights began flashing across the bridge. Shields at 40%, Rodriguez announced. I can reroute power from life support, but it'll make things uncomfortable fast. Do it, Vega ordered. We didn't come this far to lose because we were worried about being comfortable. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, but was actually only minutes. Both sides traded devastating fire, with the Corvani ships using their superior maneuverability to stay at optimal range, while the Thunderstrike relied on her heavier weapons and stronger shields to absorb punishment while delivering devastating counterattacks. Just when it seemed like the fight might go on indefinitely, a new alarm began wailing across the bridge. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her sensors with wide eyes. Captain, I'm detecting multiple contacts approaching from the outer system. Configuration unknown, but they're moving fast. The trial continues. Kethva's voice cut through the comm system. But for the first time, Vega detected a note of concern in the alien marshal's tone. These are not our ships. On the view screen, a new group of vessels appeared at the edge of sensor range. These ships were different from both the human and Corvini designs, with jagged edges and hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with the predatory grace of hunters, and their approach vector would bring them directly through the combat zone. Pirates, Ambassador Zilth's ethereal voice carried a note of alarm. The Kethahara Syndicate. They must have detected the energy signatures from our battle. How many? Vega demanded. 15 vessels, possibly more, Chen reported. They're armed and moving to attack positions. High Marshal Kethva's voice carried new urgency. Human Captain, we must suspend the trial. The Kethahara will attack the station if they believe we are weakened by combat. Vega looked around his bridge, seeing the faces of his crew as they realized the situation had changed completely. They had come here to prove humanity's worth to the galactic community, but now they faced a choice that would define not just their species' future, but their character as well. Marshal, Vega said, his decision forming as he spoke, we didn't come this far to run from pirates. If these Kethahara threaten the station, then they threaten innocent lives. That makes them our enemy too. Captain, Dr. Vasquez whispered, we don't owe these people anything. We could withdraw and let them handle their own problems. No, Vega replied firmly, we're not that kind of species. Chen signaled the Corvini ships. Tell them we're offering to fight alongside them against the pirates. The silence that followed was broken by something Vega had never expected to hear from the warrior species: laughter. Human Captain Kethva said, you would fight beside former enemies to protect strangers. That's what humans do, Vega replied simply. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. The next phase of the battle was unlike anything any of them had ever experienced. The Thunderstrike and the 3 Corvini vessels, moments before, locked in mortal combat, now fought side by side against the pirate fleet. The Kethahara ships were fast and vicious, but they lacked the coordination and discipline of military vessels. Target their command ship, Kethva transmitted. If we can take out their leader, the rest will scatter. Understood, Vega replied. Chen, you heard the Marshal. Everything we have at their flagship. The combined human Corvini force struck with devastating effect. The Thunderstrike's heavy weapons, supported by the precise fire of the alien vessels, carved through the pirate formation like a sword through silk. The Kethahara, expecting to face a weakened enemy, instead found themselves confronting a unified defense that gave no quarter. When the last pirate ship either fled or was destroyed, the space around Kepler Station fell silent once more. The Thunderstrike hung in space alongside the Corvini vessels, her hull scarred by battle but her crew intact. Human Captain Kethva's voice carried a note of respect that hadn't been there before. You have passed the trial in a way we never expected. You have shown not just courage, but honor, not just strength, but wisdom. The Corvini Empire formally recognizes humanity as worthy of joining the galactic community. Ambassador Zilth's melodic voice added, Captain Vega, your actions today have created ripples that will spread throughout the galaxy. You have shown that humanity brings not just new technology or resources, but new perspectives on what it means to be truly civilized. Dr. Vasquez was practically vibrating with excitement at her station. "Captain, I'm receiving communication requests from dozens of species. Everyone wants to know more about the humans who fought alongside former enemies to protect strangers." Vega looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, Earth's sun was shining on a world that would never be the same. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and they had done so not through conquest or submission, but through the simple act of standing up for what was right. "Set course for Kepler Station," he ordered. "It's time to introduce ourselves properly to our new neighbors." As the Thunderstrike moved toward the massive space station, Vega reflected on the irony of their situation. They had come seeking to prove humanity's worth through combat, but in the end, they had proven it through compassion. The galaxy had tested their strength and found it adequate, but more importantly, it had tested their character and found it worthy of respect. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant. They were full of possibilities, friends waiting to be made, and adventures yet to be had. Humanity had earned its place among them, not through force of arms alone, but through the simple recognition that some things were worth fighting for, even when the people you were protecting had been your enemies just moments before. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. They had found their place among the stars, and it was exactly where they belonged.